Hi friends, we're gonna start our exploration with circles today. Yay for the circle.
So this is a nice app that shows how when you change the radius of a circle, the entire circle will change. That's because a circle's essentially just a whole bunch of points all around, and each point has to be exactly the same distance from the center point. So that's basically what makes a circle.
Okay, as we explore circles today, here are some materials that you'll probably want to have nearby before you get started. 2 pencils, unless you have, maybe you have a compass. This is not the kind of compass that tells you where to go, but the kind of compass that can draw circles. I have a couple of varieties. Maybe your parents have one at home. Of course, they have points usually at the bottom, so you got to be careful with that. They're a little sharp. But if you don't have a compass, which is a tool designed to draw circles, you can try a paper clip. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to make circles without a compass. So if you have different size clips and 2 pencils, of course I like my pencils to be sharp, so I have a pencil sharpener nearby. And then any kind of paper. I'm gonna do a project actually on some newspaper. Maybe you have some goose paper at home. Remember our good on one side paper, if your parents can save that for you. I always have a lot of random paper around my house. This is some construction paper. And if you're lucky, maybe you have a sketch pad that you can use. I would suggest starting with just some scrap paper to try to get the hang of making circles. That's what we're going to start with first, is just explore different ways to make circles, so you can play with that first. There's 2 ways to do that. One way is to turn the compass, and the other way is to turn the paper. I always find that turning the paper is an easier way to get a good circle. So if you try your fingertip, try to hold your fingertip down and the pencil point, and if you turn the paper, see, you might be able to come up with a circle. You can try to freehand circles. We might have more success with our circle making. Okay, so another way to make a circle that might be a little bit easier. That was pretty tricky with just your hand. Remember how I said you could have 2 pencils and a paper clip, and if you have 2 pencils, you'll hold one still, and then this one, whoops, not quite. But you can see you can go back and forth. If you hold the center point still, then you will end up with the arcs meeting up. There, it will create a circle. So you could try that again, trying to create overlapping circles. My paper is spinning and I don't want it to. I taped my paper down. Maybe you can see that there's actually a point where I was holding it still, so I should be able to continue with that same circle that I started. Pretty close. And if you get some lines that are out of place, you could go back and erase them. So as you can see, we could start to make all kinds of designs with overlapping circles. You could make a spiral, anything like that. If you have different size paper clips, you could add some circles of a different size. As you can see here, these will start to grow bigger and bigger as I get bigger paper clips. Now you can also adjust the size of the paper clip by bending it, so you could play around with all of the different sizes of paper clips that you could make, and that will make a nice big circle. And that might be fun to play around with, whatever kind of design you make. You could color it in different ways. You could do different patterns or color different colors or different methods for filling in spaces. If you don't have paper clips and you also want, or if you want really precise sizes, you can use some cardboard, or this is material for folders, anything that's a little bit thicker than paper. Make points along the center. You have to try to kind of poke a hole through, and then I could mark if I want a certain distance apart. I could have very uniform circles if I make them the same distance apart. If you are interested in making concentric circles, and you could use this as a tool. So that's just 4 holes, but for example, it works the same way. You don't need a lot of tape to tape down to the table in case your parents might be worried about that. So that's my center point. That's the second point. And then I'm just gonna keep it where it is and do all 3. Concentric circles are a fun method for making some kind of artwork. Maybe like a tunnel, or think of your perspective drawings, things like that. So that might be something fun to try. And just fill your whole page with overlapping circles or some concentric circles and try it out. And if you get a pattern that you like, color it, design it. I'd love to see what you come up with. I'm gonna work on mine here. So I'm gonna do my project on some recycled paper. I chose a section from, this is just a newspaper that we get, an advertisement newspaper. So I don't know if you get something like that at home, but I think a lot of us are going to be looking around the house for reusable items. So I just picked a section that sort of has a consistent background, so it'll add some background, but it's not filled with a lot of pictures and things like that. Maybe you'll find some pictures that you want to add, but it just kind of has a consistent background. And then I'm going to add my circles on top of that, and then I'm going to color them in after that. If you're lucky enough to have a compass at home, you're going to want to have your parents show you how it works. You can see I've added the pencil. There's a pencil and a point. The point will be the part that stays still. You can adjust the size of the circle by pulling it farther apart, as you saw on that app that shows the radius will change as you push it together for a smaller circle and pull it apart for a larger circle. So I've started adding some circles on top. You can see different sizes, and actually here I made a really big circle and it actually comes off the page, but that's okay because a lot of artwork, you want the lines to come off the page to move the viewer's eye around. If you start making a circle and you lose your space, you can try to at least line it back up on the arc, and it should be able to continue for you. So I've just done a random design. I love these kind of shapes that come up when the circles overlap. So this project is about random circles and just seeing how they fit together and what kind of little shapes arise when you overlap them. I will do a circle pattern video, which will give you the opportunity to play with specific patterns, but this is just designed to be more of a free flow activity. So I've just colored my outlines with markers. I happen to have one set of markers at my house that works, so I've outlined the color pattern, and then I'm going to color it in with some pencils.
Time forgiver, coming up the hill to meet you, trekking up the hill to find you.
So here's my completed piece. I had a little trouble around the edge. This paper's really thin, so it would tear, but we know we can crop that off. So it's just kind of fun. The background coming through that newspaper actually gives it some nice texture and depth, so it's just kind of fun. So I can't wait to see what kind of projects you come up with.
Swedish winters, there is cold.
So I'll start from that same point. A couple of mine got messed up a little bit, so it looks a little bit wobbly, but concentric circles are a great background for Zentangle. Here's an example of some Zentangle doodles. Zendoodle, maybe you call it that. This has a hand traced and then just lines that go through. So if you're looking for something a little bit more freeform, then you can try that, or this would work with the circles too. You could fill them with Zen doodles and different designs. So that's another idea.